Brand new in Excel for 2021, Lambda is the most powerful function ever. This is awesome. Lambda is the most powerful function in Excel for one reason. It lets you create your own functions and use them throughout your spreadsheet. Let's take a look and see how this works. Let's say we want to create a formula that adds 1 to the value over here in this column X. So let's type in the Lambda function. And the first thing it asks for is a parameter or calculation. I'm going to put in X as an input variable. And this can be anything you want to use. It just so happens I'm matching the X title that I have over here. Then it wants to know what the calculation is. Well, let's take X plus 1. That's our formula. So one of the things that's tricky about the Lambda function when you enter it directly into your spreadsheet is it needs to know what the input value is for X in this formula. It doesn't know that it's pulling data from over here. So we're going to tell it that the input value is going to be this value 8 over here in A2. Hit enter, and it's taken that value 8 and added 1 to it. Let's copy this down, and you can see that it uses A3, the input for this one, and A4 as the input for this one, and adds 1 to each of those values. The real power of Lambda is when you name a function of your own. So let's take this X plus 1 idea and we'll create our own function called plus 1. The way you do that is come up here to Formulas and go to Name Manager. We're going to create a new name and we're going to call this one plus 1. And in the formula for that, we're going to have it be a Lambda function with an input of X and a value of X plus 1 for the calculation. That's all you have to do. We'll hit OK. And now it creates a name called plus 1. I'm going to close that. And over here, I'm going to reference my plus 1 formula. And you can see it's in the list now. And the parameter that we're going to pass in is going to be this A2 value. And there it adds 1 to that value. We'll copy it down. And you can see that it is now its own function called plus 1. That's the real power of the Lambda function. We can now use this newly named function throughout the spreadsheet, and it saves with your spreadsheet so you can come back and use it again in the future. Now let's take Lambda a little bit farther. Let's say we want 2 input variables instead of 1. So let's create a column here called Y, and we'll put some numbers in here as well. We'll clear this out. And we're going to go directly to the Name Manager and create something that is going to multiply X and Y. So let's call it multiply XY. And the formula we want to use here is going to be Lambda. And we're going to input both an X and a Y variable. And for the calculation, we want it to be X times Y. Hit OK there. It creates this multiply XY. And now we can reference our function with input variables for X and for Y. And you can see that it multiplies those two values together for your results. Another feature of the Lambda function is that the input value can be a range as well as an individual value. So for example, let's say we delete these and we edit this A2 value for input, and instead of selecting just the A2 value of 8, let's go ahead and do the range of the entire column. And we'll do the same thing on column B. That calculates the values by multiplying these two across, and it spills the results dynamically over the additional cells. The Lambda function handles dynamic values as well. The Lambda function is even more powerful when combined with data types. So let's clear this data out. And for X, we're going to put in some states. We're going to highlight that and go to Data. And in the list, I'm going to pick Geography as a data type. That assigns the show card for each one of these states. And now if I were to reference them, I could say equals this state and put a period in and select the value that I want, like median household income. So if we were to take and copy this Now let's create a Lambda function. So I'm going to go back to Formulas, go to Name Manager, create a new, and we're going to call this State Median Income. And in the formula, let's put in Lambda. We'll pass in a parameter called X, which is the state. And I'm going to paste the value that we calculated for the median household income, except instead of A2, I'm referencing X. Put an in parentheses on that, hit OK, and now it's created our state median income. So now I can do state median income and pass in the parameter for this. And now I have my values. So the Lambda function works great using data types as well. And if we clear this out, we can also use a dynamic range with multiple states. And it spills the values over into the additional cells. One of the most powerful features of the Lambda function is its ability to handle recursion. Recursion is the idea that a function calls itself within that function, and it repeats as a loop. Brian Jones provided a blog entry on the Microsoft Tech community that explains how this works, and he gave an example. I've copied that example into a spreadsheet to show you how this works. So here we have a text string with some sample information. We have illegal characters that we want to remove from these text strings, with the first being numbers, the second being letters, and the third being special characters. And these are the results that come out of that. The function that we're calling is a Lambda function that we've defined and named. I can come up here to the formulas, look in the name manager, and you can see that I've created this function called replace characters. The concept behind this Lambda function is we pass two parameters in. First the text string and then the illegal characters. The formula that we're using in the Lambda function is this area right here. And you'll see inside of this that it's calling itself. The idea being that it passes in this text string, removes the first character from this text string, and then it passes in the remaining characters so that it removes one character at a time all the way down to where there's nothing left. That creates a loop as it removes each one of those numbers, and it puts the results in this field right here. The concept of recursion is very powerful, and this is the first time you've been able to use this in a function without doing more complex VBA code. So that makes the Lambda function even more powerful than any other function available in Excel. If you want to understand this in more detail, I'll provide a link to Brian's post, and you can take a look at some of the detailed explanation he gives. You'll want to note that the Lambda function was released in the beta version of Excel on December 3rd, 2020, so it will be a few months before it's available in general release versions of Excel for Microsoft 365. That explains the new Lambda function in Excel. Be sure to look in the description of this video to find links to Brian's blog post and video links for Excel data types and Excel dynamic array formulas. If you've discovered any other unique ways to use the Lambda function, please share them in the comments of this video. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you want to see more videos like this one, please subscribe. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to click the thumbs up and leave a comment. I really do appreciate your support.